So how would you help us solve this problem? Do not answer that question. Welcome to Sales for Nice People, the daily podcast for ethical entrepreneurs who want to sell more because of their values and not despite them. I am Martin Steller. I help nice people sell more, and it is very easy to fall into the explain trap. And when you do, you lose the sale. Here's what I mean. A while ago, I was talking to a buyer who said, "Hey, can you get our sales team to go from 14 million per year to 16 million per year?" And I said, "Yeah, possibly. It depends on a number of things." And he goes, "Okay, so what would you do? How would you do that?" And at that moment, I almost fell into the explain trap. I started to talk about the possibility of sales training and maybe some analysis of the pipeline and the deals and looking for the 80-20 ratio in. But then I caught myself and I said, actually, I have a bunch of questions I need to ask you first. I was lucky at that moment. I stopped falling into that explain trap and I started asking a whole bunch of questions and I ended up landing the client. If I had continued to explain, very likely that deal would have never happened. Now, why is that? Why is it so important to avoid the explain trap? It's very simple. A buyer wants to know how you work, what you do, what the solution is, what the results are going to be. And very often a buyer will ask very simply, just a genuine question of curiosity and trying to understand what you do, will ask at the start of the meeting, "Hey, so how does that work? What do you do?" If you start explaining right at the start, then what you're effectively doing is the conversational equivalent of sending people a brochure or a proposal or a pitch. And you will probably have noticed that sending things like that doesn't get you a deal. Very often, it doesn't even get you a reply. Why is that? Well, when you explain too soon, when you start going into the mechanics of your work, before your buyer has shared their concerns and their challenges and their frustration, all you're doing is giving them information. But that information is in no way related to the actual problem and the real life frustration that they live with every day. So when a buyer asks you to explain how it works and you don't have enough information first, be careful. You're about to fall into the explain trap. What you do instead is say, "Well, I don't know yet how to answer that question because I need to know a few more things first. Can I ask you some questions?" Very likely your buyer is going to say, "Sure, go for it." You get to then ask your questions. You elicit intel, insight, and data about that person's reality. And then when you start explaining, everything that you say will relate back to the painful, pressing, costly problems that they have told you about. And then all the things that you explain are going to make sense and are going to fit within their world and their problems and the solution they're looking for. So be very careful not to try and prove yourself, to go and explain too soon. Make sure that before you get to explaining, you have all the insight and the understanding. Make sure that you first get your buyer, and only then do you start to explain. This is Sales for Nice People. I will see you tomorrow.